Hi everybody, it's Michelle Kempfema here with Colorado Model Railroad Museum, and today we're going to talk about train safety. We know that pretty much every town in America has tracks in it or near it, so we know that there are trains in almost everyone's world, and so we want you to be safe whenever you're around train tracks. It's really important to us. So we have a few sayings that go with this that maybe you'll remember, because I'm going to keep saying them over and over throughout this presentation. So the first one is, anytime is train time. Freight trains don't have a schedule that's known to the public. We don't know when a freight train's going to come through town here, and you don't know in your town either. The same with passenger trains. If they're off schedule, they can be late. They might not be exactly on time. So always assume that any time is train time when you're near a train track. So another saying we have is, if you see tracks, think train, right? So if you see there's tracks on the ground, think there could be a train coming, so I need to be safe. So what do you think the inside of a locomotive looks like? Could it possibly look like this? Interesting, isn't it? Here's, there's a truck on the tracks right there. We're in the cab. Do you see a steering wheel? I see the lever that makes us go forward, and I see the brake lever, but you know what? There is no steering wheel in there. A train can't swerve. There's no steering wheel. So you have to be the one to get off the tracks, because a train can't swerve around you. Not like in our vehicles when we can swerve around other cars. They just can't swerve around you at all. So now let's talk about how long it takes for a train to stop. So this is the average stopping distance of different vehicles. A car takes 200 feet to stop. A bus would be 230 because you have more mass, more weight. What about a semi? 300 feet, more mass, more weight. Passenger trains are lighter than freight, maybe 600 feet. A freight train, it takes 5,280 feet on average to stop when you have a standard freight train. Now, in Colorado, we all know what this number means, 5,280. We use it all the time in our world, but 5,280, 5,280 feet equals 1 mile. So let's look at this one. If it takes a mile to stop, a way to visualize that in your head is 18 football fields. Maybe you've been on a football field and you've walked up and down one. You know, it's pretty far. And so 18 football fields to stop. So if you step out or you drive, you try to get in front of a train and beat it in your car, is it going to be able to swerve? No. Is it going to be able to stop in time? No. So you need to be safe and make good choices before you get to that situation. Another thing we can look at is mass. So if a train is 80 tons, and you know that's a lot of pounds, and I'll tell you how many in a minute, and a man on average, a grown adult male, is 175 pounds, what do you think that ratio is like? Not good, right? And here's our symbol for see tracks, think trains. We want to keep that in your mind all the time. See tracks, think trains. So let's look at this one. This is kind of a weight ratio example. So if a train was 80 tons, that's actually 12 million pounds. A car on average is 3,000 pounds. What do you think? 12 million, 3,000. I think the train's gonna win. I think the train is gonna squish the car, move the car, bump the car. Definitely going to happen. Now, a way to look at that in your home, and this is something you can do at home, and I'm not going to demonstrate it here, but I'm going to tell you how to do it. The same ratio here is like a pop can, 12-ounce pop can, like a soda can, to a car, or even a human. So if you have an empty soda can, an empty, not full, an empty one, why don't you try to stomp it with your foot and see if that's easy or hard? Because your weight compared to, you know, your 175 pounds, or you as a child might be less than 100 pounds compared to 3,000 pounds of a car, you can still squish the pop can. Imagine what a car would do it. So try it and see what you think. See if you can squish a pop can with your foot. Just stomp it. We usually do that when we have you here in person. So let's talk about different kinds of crossings. In our world, we have basically two kinds of crossings. We have an active crossing, and they have warning devices, and I'm sure you've seen one, and they have the lights that flash and the arms come down sometimes. Sometimes they don't have arms. But that's called an active crossing because there's something to really catch your attention, right? Ding, 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 ding. Lights are flashing. The other kind is called a passive crossing. A passive crossing means that you see a sign first, you'll see this on the pavement, but you might be on a dirt road. And so as you get closer, you'll see that you have those signs, and when you get there, there's just a little crossing sign. I have the wrong side. Oh, they're falling. That's a problem. You have just a crossing sign at your, looks like this. It'll have what we call a crossbuck. It'll say railroad crossing. Now that means you need to slow down and pay attention, because what did we say? See tracks, think train, and any time is train time. So when you're approaching one of these and you're driving, just always be aware, look both ways. We have another saying, it's look, listen, live. So look both ways, listen for a train, and you will live. So there we go. Now here's something really important, and this is really important once you can drive, or if you're a passenger in a car. Every crossing in America, so here's a picture of an active crossing and here's a picture of a passive crossing. They all have this blue sign on them now. This blue sign is there to tell you where you are. So say you're out in the country on a dirt road and your car stalls on the tracks. So you call 911 and you get the operator, and the operator says, "Where are you?" And you look around and go, "I'm next to a tree out in the country." Now how are they supposed to find you? Sometimes all the country crossings look the same if it's a dirt road. So the railroads have all gone together and put on these emergency signs for our safety. You will always find a location. The bottom line here will tell you where you are. And then there's this number here that you can call to get directly to the railroad. And that tells them that there's a problem with that crossing. You can also call 911 and they also can use this location. So we want to really get that information out there so everyone knows that if you have any problems near a train crossing, a railroad crossing, you can always look for this blue sign. So, okay, we're going to look at our railroad today. We're out here in West Lakeview, so I'm going to move this stuff out of the way. And we're going to do a little switching and show you a passive siding and an active crossing. So first I have to acquire my locomotive with our NCE throttle here. And let's turn him on. So what we have in front here in the layout, right here, is what we call a passive crossing. Do you see the crossbuck? And here we have an Operation Lifesaver crushed car. That was made for us as a gift from an Operation Lifesaver volunteer. And so that shows what happens when a train hits a car. The train wins. Now we're going to do an active crossing in the back. And you'll see that those lights are going to come on when that train gets there. And you can hear it. So there you go. Those are some examples that are here on our layout. And maybe this train's going to stop in the crossing because he's doing some switching way back in the yard behind you that you can't even see. So sometimes trains are quiet when they're moving by because they're doing switching operations or something like that. So thank you very much for listening today, and hopefully you learned a little bit about train safety. Remember, anytime is train time. See tracks, think train, and look, listen, and live. And if you have any questions, please feel free to message us and on Facebook or here on Greeley Station. Thank you.